What's your favorite scary movie? Well, it's definitely not Scream 7. Um, I recently saw I recently saw Scream 7 yesterday. I don't know when I'm gonna release this video. I need to stop moving the mic. Um, but you know, it's the 7 movie. I love these movies, but they're starting to get to a point where the last one wasn't too bad. I feel like the New York setting was pretty good and had a good ending, but they're starting to get to a point where they're losing the plot. Like, Scream movies originally were, you know, meta takes on slashers, as most people know, and they're all funny. I'm also going to try to make this quick, not get too ranty. I'm just going off the dome and a few notes. I got to go to work soon. But yeah, like this plot was just messy. Um, Not as messy to me as or boring to me as I know what you did last summer, which was another film that was like a sequel to a franchise that's just going on for too long. Like when we're talking about long standing, I guess slashers, like Scream is probably among of them that's not too bad. It's just like Like if I was to give this movie a rating, outside of spoilers, it'd be like a 7, I guess, maybe in like a 6.5. Because it's like my default for like these movies now. They're nothing but just, I mean, they've always been popcorn flicks, but it's just a nice sit down and watch and like, oh, that was pretty funny, or that was a cool kill. Like there's a kill at the start of the movie where it's a couple that are going to, I forgot what the house is called. I think it's Willenboro, whatever. The original house where the first movie kills Rat. It's like a replica house. I forget if it's stated if it's the original house exactly, but it's like a replica house. All the kills has a bunch of like you know museum like things inside, and it was a pretty fun scene. It revs up, has some that was like the one part of the film that was like kind of meta. Besides some critiquing on if Sydney's really should be, or if the Scream franchise, let me rephrase that, the Scream franchise can go on without Sydney. But regardless, like that first kill was pretty good. Um, like it was, well, the first kill technically was the boyfriend getting stabbed in the back, or was it the stomach, something like that. But the girlfriend, she like she fights Ghostface. She runs up the stairs and stuff, and they get a little squabble where she knocks off Ghostface off the balcony of the stairs, and then she, through the whole back and forth, she ends up on the chandelier. So she's just hanging on the chandelier, and she's trying to get back um on the staircase, and then she ends up falling, and it's so funny. Ghostface, he's like face down, and then he turns around last minute and then stabs her in the stomach as she falls down. That was probably my favorite shot in the film and favorite kill in the film. Besides from this other kill that I'll mention later on. So like if I was to sum this film for newer watchers or returning watchers, um, this film is low key just like Sydney is the most experienced killer. Not killer, geez. She's Sydney's the most experienced final girl. Like I gotta think about that, but she definitely is like top most experienced final girls, especially like an age. Um, but she basically like has every answer for these killers at this point. Of course, she stumbles a little bit because she has a daughter and a family to worry about as well, but she washes a lot of these killers in the film. So um let me get back to my summarization. Um yeah, most experienced final girl, and then it's kind of like a not father, a mother daughter film with her daughter Tate, where basically Sydney, she's a very protective mother, which to be fair, I would be too, considering that people are always after you like every other year, trying to be a new Ghostface. Um, so she's like has a whole bunch of security around the house. She's very protective of her daughter, and whatever she does, she has like this boyfriend that is kind of suspicious in the film. You know, he's one of the suspects as usual in these films, which is like another thing that's kind of getting tropey with these films. There's always who's the suspect, which is kind of always not always, but certain slasher films, especially the ones that are more kind of human in a way. Like ironically, I Know What You Did Last Summer comes to mind. You know, who's the killer for real? Or who knows? Um, or who's connected. Like that's really what these films boil down to. It's always in this film it is as well, kind of a spoiler. I would just guess I'll just get into that now. Um yeah, like it's whoever is connected to the main characters. And in this case, it was the neighbors slash um this guy who's at a I forgot what it's called. Oh, psychiatric facility that they met when they're trying to investigate who's the killer, because this film also has a plot point where um Stewie from the original comes back and he's trying to get his revenge on Sydney. And it's kind of like, you know, a lot of fans have theories that, you know, if he was like alive, which obviously not, but who knows, with 8 they might actually bring him back, and that would be something. Because I feel like by the end of the film, um Tate like kind of like she gets the final kill on the killer with you know, always go for the head. She shoots them in the head with her mom, and at least I'm getting the implication that these films are eventually going, at least the next few sequels, because they are already making 8. I saw that that was an announcement. Also, I just noticed Silent Hill F is in the background still. I forgot to turn off my TV. But whatever. Um, yeah, like it's really, I think it's going to boil down to like a mother daughter type of film, and eventually Tate's going to take up the mantle of kind of a final girl. Might even be a duo, but that's just what I'm thinking. Um, think of another point. I have my notes here. Um, I guess back on the kills, I'll say another kill that really impressed me. I've heard if I've seen this I feel like I've seen a slasher kill like this before, but it was still fun to see it in general. They're like in a bar slash bowling alley. So a lot of the characters, also there's a lot of characters in this film. I forgot. I mean, all the slashers and scream films have a lot of characters that just are there to die, really. Um, one of her friends that's friends with Tate. Um, I don't know why I phrase it like that. Um, in the bar, she dies by getting rolled across the bar table into a bunch of glass. That wasn't the cool kill, so I'll move on to that. This boy she's interested in, he gets stabbed, and Ghostface picks them off the ground. And actually, I don't know what this is called. I'll try to put it on screen if I can find it. But um, he Ghostface puts his head on this sharp piece of like I guess like the liquor um funnel or something, and stabs him through it. and just the liquid comes out of it like a water fountain. It's so visually cool, and the whole theater laughed, which was I was kind of disappointed at the theater, at least compared to the last horror movie I saw, which was well, you see it on my channel, but Iron Lung. This Some of the theater was kind of silent until like the end, where everyone started laughing and like reacting towards the kills. That was a lot of fun because that's always what I look forward to in horror films. The one of the few movies where I kind of enjoy having a crowd. Otherwise I try to avoid it. Um, but you know, Sydney's back, Gail's back. Um, and if you remember, if you've seen the last film, um, well, last two actually, I forget where they're, which film they're at, but they're in the previous two films. One of the two, Chad and Mindy, minor characters. It's not that big of a deal, but they're back too. They're kind of like assistants of Gail. One of them's holding the camera. One of them wants to be a reporter like Gail, but they're all back. This film's kind of like Scream 3 in a way. And I also say, like, if you're returning or you're new, you're completely fine. There's some nods, and I have my mom's reaction from this film at the end, but you know, there's some nods to the previous films, but it's nothing like you can't just jump in and still enjoy the film. Because this film, like I said before, it's just your average slasher, really. It's a good popcorn flick. You just go to on the weekend. Don't expect much. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, but uh, yeah, it's kind of a direct sequel in a sense to Scream 4, since technically that was Sydney's last appearance. So take that as you will. If you have seen the films up until then, um, I think that's really all I gotta say. I'm hitting 12 minutes, so I'll end it here. But yeah, this film is pretty good. Um, Nothing to rum home about. I mean, I liked the opening sequence. Those are my favorite. The bar scene was cool, like I mentioned, and oh, the house invasions scene now at this kind of start a little bit because the kills get right into it. They waste no time to get into the killer stuff. I think this was really like the quickest film that got into the kills. Like they didn't really leave much mystery to figure out, you know, who this guy is. There was like a subversion when the first killer is killed. He gets hit by a truck by Gale. Well, Gale's truck. But there's a scene where it's kind of like an opening house invasion scene, which I don't know if anyone else thought about this. The solo review. I'm not review any reviews or makes any reviews or saw the film as well. I know I phrased it that way, but with all the security Sydney has, why didn't she have sensors in the attic? Like, I feel like that's the most prime place for someone to break in or stay in, but she has sensors all around the house, all kinds of cameras, blah blah blah, but she doesn't have cameras in the attic. That didn't make sense, but that's where Ghostface sneaks in and he goes after the family. And there's a cool scene where the father, who I forgot to mention, he's like a cop, um married to Sydney, and he's like the chief of police, which, bro, good on Sydney marrying a cop, because that's kind of the best scenario for her to have that kind of security um and, you know, experience, because basically she gets free reign to do whatever she wants when it comes to investigating stuff, or protection when she has a gun randomly in one scene where she could be seen as a killer. But um you know, he boxes up Ghostface, but of course Ghostface fights back and it kind of beats him and stabs him. But there's a cool scene where the daughter, Tate, um in Sydney, they go into the safe room and they go in between walls, and Ghostface like knocking on the hollow to see if the walls are hollow, and start stabbing them through. That was a cool scene, and it all leads to them going outside, and then Ghostface getting hit. There's also three Ghostface faces in the film, so that's kind of the subversion of, hey, this guy isn't connected to us. That's a red herring, and then it leads to them trying to find who the real Ghostface is, and also like if Stewie is still alive, which is he's not, of course. Like I've said, they have a thing where it's AI, um, some guy making a deep fake. One of the killers, he's like a Google specialist. Um, until he went to a psychiatric hospital, which I don't know what the pay disparity is on that, but I think being a Google um specialist, whatever you will call it, would be better. But whatever, he decided to switch up on that, and he makes deep fakes because he has like him and a neighbor have like an obsession with Sydney. They like read her book that she made, and they're like really obsessed with the fact that like she just left everyone. Um, and she feels like she's too old to be a final girl anymore, which is a little funny in the film where Sydney's like, I'm too old. But still, overall, this film's like I said before, like a 7, maybe even a 6.5. I mulled over it overnight, but that was really all I could boil it down to. Um, you might notice with these reviews, I keep going on. Pretty pretty easy to please, I think I'd say. So I really enjoyed this film. I found it entertaining. Of course, there are some plot holes and you know negatives of the film, but it wasn't like it's a Scream movie. Like I don't Scream 7 at this. Like I don't expect much. So um yeah, it was enjoyable enough for me. So I'd say go see it. Um, there's going to be more films horror wise down the line, so I'll probably forget this film, but at least I have it in the bag now. It's definitely not at all my favorite Scream film, like nowhere near it. Um, I'll just say this, but Scream 1 is my favorite. Um, honestly, the original trilogy is my favorite, and then everything beyond that, I'd say like 6. Excuse me, 6. No, 4, 6, and then 5, and then it'd be this movie. So basically, it'd just be like 1, 2, 3, and then probably like. Actually, I do like Scream 4. What am I talking about? I do kind of like that one. Whatever. Moving on. I'm gonna let my mom talk, and then be on the video. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that junk. And I have another review pretty soon.
Hello. So, this is the mom review of Scream 7. It's been a minute since I've seen any Scream movie, even the first one. It's been a long time. So, my view of it all is that my anxiety level was really high. So if I was to take a blood pressure test right now, let me tell you, it would be through the roof. And let me tell you why. It's because they just was not going back to kill the people. And I was talking to the screen, trying to hold myself. I was screaming. Jai was laughing at me under his breath. But overall, I am going to watch the other 6 movies, the series, because 7 touched on a lot of the other characters. So I'm just going to watch. It encouraged me to watch the other ones. So I'm going to hit up Prime Video and I'm going to watch the rest. Okay?
Was it a watchable movie, even if you didn't see the previous ones?
Yes. Because it took so long and I haven't watched the first one like in many, many moons. So yes, it's still watchable. You can still watch it and understand it and get in the midst of it all, but it still encourages you to want to watch the previous movies before 7. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself, and I would watch it again. It would definitely be on my watch over list. Okay, so that is the mom review. Have a good one, y'all. Enjoy.